So we all know that Photoshop can automatically detect and remove people and wires, but what if it could detect and remove everything or anything? That's kind of where we're heading right now. Let's check out the new general distractions in Photoshop beta right now. Let's have a first look at this new feature, and I'll do a more in-depth tutorial later, but it's general distractions. So as you know, in Photoshop, we can automatically remove things like wires and people. Now we can add a whole lot more. So what if we want to clean up this picture here of the Golden Gate Bridge, but also look at all this stuff on the ground? So check this out. We're going to go to the Remove tool. And with the Remove tool selected, we're going to go up under Find Distractions. And you're going to see a new one. And by the way, this is just in Photoshop beta right now. And we're going to choose Find. So now it's going to analyze the image, and it's going to find different things that it considers to be distractions in the image. Depending on the type of image, it's obviously going to find different types of objects. Like it's not going to see any trees or anything here because there are no trees in this image. It's not going to see reflections because they don't exist. But if you look at it, notice it's picked up all the fence. It's missed a couple of little places here, but it's picked up these cracks in the ground. And it hasn't selected people because we have a separate Remove People tool. So it shouldn't be selecting the people. And also you get to choose whether or not you want to use generative fill. Auto means it will use it if it needs to. Generative on, it will always use it. And off, it will never use it. Now, be aware when we're using the Remove tool in these features, they do not use generative credits. So they're free to use. All right, so let's click on Find Distractions again. This time the panel's going to open and we can see we've got some different things. Now be aware this is beta, so it's not perfect and it's going to mislabel some things sometimes. So one of them is animals. I see what it's doing is choosing a bird up here, which might be an airplane. That's okay. Could be an airplane, could be a bird, who knows. And in barriers, that's going to be the fence posts. So if you don't want those to be removed, we could just turn that off. It will ignore those. And then we've got other things in here, such as spots and dust. And this one is interesting because spots and dust, you might think you're going to get sensor dust, but really what it is it's more blemishes, and it's going to address some of these cracks and stuff on the ground. And that's actually quite useful. Urban elements could be the rest of these fences. So if we turn off barriers and we turn off urban elements, we could leave that there. Now vegetation, looks like we got some trees here. We could say, you know what, I want to leave those trees there, which we probably would, and in visual clutter. Not sure what it's picking up for visual clutter here, but all this is going to do is it's just going to remove all the stuff in the front here. But why don't we go ahead and get rid of the barriers and the urban elements anyway, even though I would typically leave them, but let's do it just so we can see how well it works. So we're going to hit the Enter key to get that. Now, we do know it's going to miss these ones here because those have not been highlighted. We had the option to create a new layer that was turned on, so we get this in a new layer. If we look at this before and after, look at what a nice job it's done of retouching the ground and the dirt and just really cleaning that up. It's actually really quite nice. And it's done a pretty good job of removing the fence. I'm going to say pretty good job because it's certainly not perfect. But why don't we go ahead, just for fun, we're going to remove the people as well. So I found all those people. Notice it's also selecting their shadows. This is also a newer feature. When we remove the people, it now includes shadows. And let's get rid of them. All right, so we just got a little bit of fence post left. You might think that using wires and cables is going to work, but I'm very afraid to use that right now because we have the Golden Gate Bridge there. So why don't we just do this by hand the old way using the Remove tool. So it's not super old, but oldish. And just drag across here. We don't have to worry about the vertical wires because it's just going to ignore those and it's going to clean up the horizontals. Nice. Now let's do the same here. And once again, you don't have to worry about going over areas of detail because it's just going to fix those for us. All right, great. So if we look at this is where we were before, and this is where we are after. Now, just to show you that it detects different types of objects, let's take this shot that I did from Honolulu. This is Waikiki Beach, and let's do the general distractions and see what it finds. All right, highlighted some areas, and one of the ones I was hoping it would select here is this fire hydrant, because that's definitely a distraction. And if we look into here, notice that we have different types of things. It's got urban elements, it's got vehicles, it's got poles. So it's image aware, and it's going to find different elements that may exist only in those particular images. So for example, the poles here, we can see they're in yellow. And by the way, you could click here and you could change the color. If you wanted to make those a different color, you could. See how they're changing. So whatever is going to make it easy for you to identify them and to work together, you can do that. For example, I probably wouldn't want to do the local reflections because it's just removing that logo there. Fixtures, what do we get for that? Fixtures is just picking up this little thing there on the wall. The poles, you might want to leave them there. But what if you wanted to leave some of them and not others? Well, let's make that bigger. Hold down the Alt or the Option key, and then we can paint it away and say, you know what? I don't want the traffic lights over here or the tree trunk to be removed. But maybe some of these other ones we do want to remove. Let's keep that one. But let's get rid of these other ones. I think that distraction there on the side, let's pop these open again. You can see, fixtures was another one up under the tab there. If I click away, you can see it there. We can remove it if we want, doesn't really matter. But then the visual clutter, the beginning of those windows, it's up to you whether or not you want to remove them. Let's turn the vehicles off because there's no point removing that one car. And then we can apply it. All right, cleaned up all the distractions. And as you can see, it worked really nicely. So why didn't I remove these people? Well, because this is a photograph of people crossing the street. They're not a distraction. They are actually literally what the photograph is about. So if I didn't want the people in there crossing the street, I would have taken a photograph of it at a different moment when the cross sign was not on. So literally, I would wait 12 seconds and then take that photograph. But if I wanted to remove the people, of course, I could using the remove tool. But this just gives you a nice little look into this new feature. And I'm curious about your thoughts. Drop them in the comments and let me know. And also, if you'd like me to dig a little deeper and kind of push it, test it, see what it can do, what it can't do, let me know. And I do another more in-depth video on that. So let me know your thoughts in the comments underneath. What do you think about this general distractions? Is it something that you're going to be using? I know myself, I'm going to be using it quite a lot. If you want to see how it can also remove wires, check out this ridiculous test that I did right here. And if you're new, welcome to the cafe. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, you won't miss any of my tutorials. Don't forget the written steps are on photoshopcafe.com. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.